and I would say my one negative isn't even a negative. It's more of a hesitancy with Isaiah Livers. And
Hmm.
it's that we still haven't quite seen Isaiah Livers in full scale action against NBA starter quality players. And so that's just something that you have to take into consideration when
Right.
evaluating his game, because there's a lot of things that you can really like about Isaiah Livers. And I love everything I see out of Isaiah Livers. What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Thursday, July 14th. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Jeff Iafredi. Jeff, how's it going, my brother?
Oh, it's going. It's a good day in Michigan. It was raining and pouring today, but last night it was interesting because we got blown out in summer league. So fresh off summer league, you didn't have Isaiah Livers, a guy that we're going to talk about today, and a guy that I'm so excited to see, man. I really am. This regular season, what his
Yeah,
role is
it
going to
went
be.
from summer league to bummer league real quick with the
Yeah,
team that we had to watch on that floor last night. Ashton
Jesus,
Ashton at one point commented that him and Cannon could have gone out there and got some run. And
he's not wrong.
I challenged him. I told him I would buy Ashton dinner if he could tell me literally anybody that was playing on the court in the middle of the second quarter, and he has not responded yet. So I think I'm pretty safe on that front. But Jeff, let's talk about a guy that's becoming a household name in Pistons Twitter and the Pistons fan base, and that's Isaiah Livers, because of his really solid play both down the stretch last season, but also the clear improvements and shine that he's had so far in this summer league run. He only played 2 games, but those 2 games are pretty damn impressive, Jeff. What were your thoughts?
Mhm. I mean, you immediately see the versatility. I'll start with there. You already knew there was that shooting ability he had, but what impressed me the most is just his communication. And he probably had this last year, but now you get to see it in summer league, like calling guys out, saying where they're supposed to be, being the leader on the floor. Because we know Cade is our silent leader, but there's always a glue guy. Like back to the Golden State days, it was Iguodala. I know he was much older, but still, like Isaiah has that maturity. He has obviously he understands his role, which is big. Like he understands, like, okay, this is my role. I have guys around me that are talented. I'm going to utilize them in the best way possible. And seeing him in summer league, man, you can't help but root for him. So I'm excited for a second round pick for a guy that coming in can be a big piece of our rotation this year. It's like, what a jump from Isaiah Livers, man. I'm really excited, and I love him. I
Yeah.
would love, and we talk about this too, Sean, on one of our past videos, a couple of videos ago. Go check it out if you haven't already. Us predicting the starting five. Like, there's a reason why you mentioned Isaiah Livers in there, despite being coming off one season where he wasn't very healthy, but now he's had a full off season, and now I'm excited to see what he can tune up for Pistons fans.
Oh, absolutely, man, without a doubt. And not only, like you said, he has an entire summer to work on his game, but he has an entire summer to not have to rehab either. I mean, coming into the NBA,
That's it right there.
Isaiah
Yeah.
Livers had the really difficult thing to balance of having to come back and rehab while simultaneously trying to get better at basketball. It's like you're coming in, you're just trying to catch up to where you were before you
Right.
got injured, let alone being a player that can contend or can contribute on an NBA roster. So for him to make the progression that he did and show enough promise towards the end of the season that said, okay, at the very least, Isaiah Livers is an intriguing piece for this team going forward. After summer league, the conversation is, how do you keep this guy off the floor with everything that
Right.
he does? I mean, first of all, you talk about a Troy Weaver guy and a high character guy. There is literally no person on the Piston that looks objectively like like a more nice human being, like the person that you would want to raise, than Isaiah Livers as far as who he is as a person, right?
Hmm.
But then in addition, his work ethic, his leadership intangibles, the way that he understands the game of basketball, it's just one of those things where I just think he's in this perfect situation to thrive.
Yeah, he is, and it's the maturity that stands out the most. And again, he was went to college 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. Gets drafted in the second round, hometown guy, homegrown Michigan. Then went to Michigan University, and now playing for the Detroit Pistons. So it's almost like he just gets it. He gets what's asked of him. He gets what his role is, and to understand that now this young core has the ability to grow together. Like Isaiah Livers is going to be a very important rotation piece, and it gives the Pistons much more flexibility because now like Troy Weaver sitting there like, listen, I got a guy that, in case crap hits the fan. Excuse my French. I was going to say the other word. You got a guy that can come off the bench, can start for you, and like you said, provide those intangibles, the ability to be like, all right, guys, this is what's expected of us. This is what we're going to go do, and just to be able to grow with them. Like he's going to be the guy that everybody roots for. Like you said, not only just because he's from Michigan, but just because of like, if you wanted to find a Troy Weaver guy, it's that high character. He checks the boxes. That
Hmm.
versatility, he checks the boxes. Like the ability to shoot the ball, which fits really well with the court and core they have, checks those boxes as well. It's just about doing it in the regular season. We saw flashes in the summer league. Can he transition that in the regular season? I think he can, but it's yet to be determined, man. But I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I'm looking at comps to like what Isaiah Livers can be and like what his ceiling can be, I mean, obviously we're just seeing the talent that he has. I think he's going to be I think he's a guy that can be a really solid NBA player and a solid starter for a
Yeah.
team one day. And I think when I'm looking at like comparisons for him, I'm looking at guys like possibly like PJ Tucker or like Jay Crowder, just like these utility 3-and-D guys who are versatile on the defensive end that contribute to winning. There's a reason why when PJ Tucker's on the market, James Harden is cutting his salary just to make sure that he can come to the 76ers, right? Because those
Mhm.
types of pieces are what lead to championships. Half of Boston's roster is Isaiah Livers type built guys, like Grant Williams, for example. But like I think with Isaiah Livers, I think the one thing that I like about him over some of those guys, you don't question his motor ever. You don't
Nope.
question his character ever. And like, and the other thing too, a lot of those guys, they're just looking to be in the situation where they want to win. And with Isaiah Livers, with all the ties to the program, with him wanting to be on this team and part of this rebuild, I think the really cool part of it is that he can organically grow into that role with these guys as well. And I think he's
Mhm.
already shown that he's closer to that spot than people maybe even realized.
Yeah, and you brought up PJ Tucker and Jay Crowder. Like Sean, 30 teams would take both those players. And I
Yep.
think Isaiah Livers is going to be on that list as well because the ability, like you said, 3-and-D, high motor, the leadership ability, the nonstop, he doesn't quit. It goes back to that high motor. And if you could shoot the ball in this league and be versatile, any team's going to be able to take you. So to have him in the second round on a dirt cheap contract, whew, Troy just keeps impressing me day by day, man. He
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now let's kind of like talk about like maybe like pros and cons. Like let's kind of go a little bit more deeper into maybe because there is a lot of good things to say about Isaiah Livers, but at the same time, when you're looking at a prospect, you want to look at how you want to see them grow as well, right?
Right.
So I think with Isaiah Livers, one of the things that impressed me during the summer league even was his ability to handle the ball
Mhm.
and to create his own shot. I mean, even though in the first game he was 1 of 8 from beyond the arc, he was struggling to find a shot. Again, in that second game against Washington, he came out and put up a 20 piece and was our most reliable player on the floor. He led us in scoring, and he looked leagues above and looked like he was that guy on the court as far as he belonged.
Yeah. And I think another positive, and we'd start with the simple stuff, like his ability to shoot
Yeah.
the ball. And I get the consistency thing. Like you want to be more consistent, especially like you're going to see, 20 minutes a night. You're going to want Isaiah Livers to be consistent, which he will do. He's a young guy. He's in one season in the NBA. That's one of my things. But the positive is, man, we'll talk about the high motor, but that kind of goes into his defense, his versatility on the perimeter. He can guard. Honestly, he'll never give up. He can even take guys on in the post. And I think if he's hitting shots and he's playing high level defense, like that's where he gets his value. The leadership is always going to be there. That's the thing about being a leader on the court. No matter if the shot's falling or not, we know what we're getting out of Livers. And that's the ability to just keep guys focused, keep guys engaged. And I think
Yep.
that's the most underrated part of his game. Negatives, man, it's just about really staying healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
coming out of college, he was injured. First season in the NBA, he was also still dealing with that injury. So hopefully in the second season, you'll start to see that progression of just being consistent, being the foundation. Because you brought up Jay Crowder and PJ Tucker, both those guys have in common. They can stay and they can play
Yeah.
82 games. So that's the one thing, man. But a lot to like about him, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Without a doubt. And I would say my one negative isn't even a negative. It's more of a hesitancy with Isaiah Livers. And
Mhm.
it's that we still haven't quite seen Isaiah Livers in full scale action against NBA starter quality players. And so that's just something that you have to take into consideration when
Right.
evaluating his game because there's a lot of things that you can really like about Isaiah Livers. And I love everything I see out of Isaiah Livers. And if he can make this type of production in the starting lineup or even replicate some of it in
Oh yeah.
bursts, that's something that contributes. And those are the little things that lead to the Pistons getting to a play-in tournament. We're talking about, oh, we don't know if we're going to get there or not. What are the X factors? Obviously, there's the core pieces, your main guys,
Mhm.
but
It's the
it's your
others.
role players too. It's guys like Isaiah Livers. And that's why with Troy Weaver, every pick in the draft counts. and he
Mhm.
made that one count without a doubt. Perhaps his best value pick, like you said, Jeff, without a doubt.
Yeah, and you brought up the ability, like stars gets you to the finals, the others win you the finals. Like that's what Shaq always says. And another thing too, you see it in the playoffs this postseason. A team will be up 15, and then the bench unit comes in. That bench, like I feel like a Livers is going to be a part of that bench unit that goes on like a 15-0 run. After that, like it's going to be you need benches, and you see it deeper down the stretch in the playoffs, like the Golden State or it's the Celtics, like those Derek White off the bench, Jordan Poole and company off the bench for Golden State. Like those things matter. And Livers, I'm not saying he's going to be a 15-point scorer or anything. Who knows what he can be, but he's going to be solid. And if he's hitting shots, Pistons are going to be, looking very good. And especially I talked about it with Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham with their strengths to have a guy like Isaiah Livers who could spot up and just knock down shots, and you can rely on him defensively. You could take some pressure off of Cade and Jaden Ivey. They're going to love him. They're going to compliment him as well. I mean, he's going to compliment them. So it's a great fit.
Yeah, without a doubt. And another thing it's important to remember, he only played 19 games last year, and he averaged about 20 minutes a game. So relatively speaking,
Value.
in the NBA level, he just hasn't gotten much run. So I think that's the big thing. And I don't even mean that as a negative. Like that's the thing that's like,
facts.
Yeah, it's the facts. But in addition, there's positive aspects of, man, we've seen all these signs and he's only played 19 NBA games. But on the other hand, it's like, are we overreacting to 19 NBA games and 2 summer league games, So I just, I as much as I love the enthusiasm about Isaiah Livers being a starter, I think it's similar to other guys on this team, even like Duren in a way where even like what would Killian have to do to be a starter another day is that you have to earn that, right? I mean, and for him, it might be a shorter rope than other guys because he might be a little bit more ready. But nonetheless, in my opinion, there should probably be some test for him to pass first, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Especially how Dwayne Casey is. Like they're gonna, especially with Isaiah Livers and what they have. The best part about it is it's a young team. Like he's allowed to make mistakes just like everybody else. And now you have a longer leash, considering the fact that you don't have many players like Isaiah Livers on your team. So that's also a benefit. The doubt they have a lot of guards, but you don't have guys that can play both forward positions and can consistently knock down shots. They signed Kevin Knox, but Isaiah Livers is just a different breed. I get he hasn't played a lot, but you just it's the potential we're talking about. It's what can he be, and we're not saying this is what he is right now, but you're seeing the flashes, and with his work ethic, he'll get there.
Yeah, without a doubt, man, without a doubt. And when you're talking about having 2 guys on your team in the caliber of Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Livers, I mean, Saddiq, we considered him towards the beginning of his career as being like kind of how we see Isaiah Livers now, that type of role player, right? Obviously, different ceiling, different expectations now with certain things that we see, but it just speaks to the fact that the more guys like that you can have on your team to surround guys like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, because not only will Livers benefit from Cade and Ivey in the sense that they are going to certainly allow him to have more spacing, but then in addition, on the other side of it as well, you're going to see Jaden Ivey be able to get to the hole more because they have to respect that type of shooter. So it's just going to be mutually beneficial for everybody. But
yeah, exactly. And one thing I want to add too, like these players that are around the league, like look at Luka Doncic. Look how many times he hits Finney Smith. Like Finney Smith is one of those guys you can always rely on. Number one, to play defense, but number two, to consistently knock down shots. I feel like Isaiah Livers, in terms of that role, he could fit it. Like he's going to be the guy that hopefully you get the consistency. Hopefully he could be healthy for an entire season. But if all of that happens, man, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham got a smile on their face, knowing they got a guy out there that's given his all every single night and can consistently, hopefully, knock down shots. Because we already know in the 20-game stretch he played last year, he had 3.5 attempts. He shot 40%. So we know if he has the minutes, he can knock them down. So as a Pistons fan, it's hard not to be excited. It really isn't.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. But with that, what do you think? Do you think Isaiah Livers should be considered for the starting lineup day one? What have you thought of his performance in the Summer League? And where do you think Isaiah Livers can potentially be in the echelon of the NBA? Let us know in the comment section down below. But also, be sure to follow my guy Jeff on Twitter at JeffIafrady, myself at Sean Halfcourt, the channel itself at FH Court Pod, and be sure that you're subscribing to From Half Court Clips as well for other clip content so you ain't missing a damn thing. But with that, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.